Compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertisement in the Cape May Star and Wave on the Township website and posted on the bulletin board of Township Hall.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Conrad.
Here.
Councilmember Perry.
Here.
Councilmember Simonson.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Clark.
Here.
Mayor Beck.
Here. Lieutenant Martin Biersbach will come forward and give us some information on the Nixel system with Manager. Jim, you've got this, right?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out tonight. Manager, Mayor, Council, thanks for having me.
Marty, would you turn around and address council, please?
I certainly will.
Thank you.
I'm used to an audience, you know.
I understand. You're used to the community meetings. Thank you.
Certainly. I want to take a few moments of your time to introduce to you a new service that we're utilizing to help better communicate with our residents. The service is called Nixel, and it's in use by other police departments in our county and by over 8,000 police departments, schools, and government agencies throughout the country. I brought some registration flyers that are in the back on the table. Please grab one for yourself, your friends, and your neighbors. Even if you've already registered, pick one up as there's helpful information on there about customizing your account. Nixel has two basic public groups. Nixel Dial, or the home telephone group. Anyone with a home phone, including VoIP phones like Comcast and Vonage, are automatically in this group. This is your reverse 911. This group can only be used for alert messages. In other words, for emergency situations like severe weather warnings, gas leaks, missing children, and other things of this nature. These contain critical, important information where loss of life and/or property is potentially imminent. Alert messages are time-sensitive and require residents to take immediate action. These calls can be limited to a certain geographical location or to all residents. But in today's changing technology, not everyone has a home phone this day and age. So for those people, we need you to sign up. The second main group is called Nixel Wire. Don't get caught up in these names, but this is basically those of you who register with Nixel, and I hope everyone will. This group will also receive emergency alert messages, but can also receive advisory and community messages. Advisory messages are intended to communicate important, need-to-know information. Advisories should be considered less time-critical than alerts and require a heightened sense of awareness from residents. Some examples include road closures, school closings, subjects wanted by the police, or severe weather watches. Community messages are used to convey everyday local news, happenings, and developments. Community messages do not contain any time-critical information. Some examples include weekly police activity reports, crime prevention tips, event reminders, and other community updates. You can customize your settings and how you wish to receive messages at Nixel.com. Advisory messages reach you by email and text messaging, depending on your preferences. Our messages are also posted on our website, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. They can also be put out as a voice message, but you must register for this and choose this option. You have the ability to add multiple locations to your account, so if you have more than one property in the township, you can be alerted to situations that affect those as well. You can also customize what messages you will wish to receive by text message alerts, alerts and advisories, or alerts, advisories, and community messages. You can even choose what agencies you wish to receive messages from. Another great feature in Nixel is the ability to send anonymous tips. We can engage in a back and forth communication with anyone sending a tip, like if we need to clarify something or had additional questions about the tip, and the person stays completely anonymous. A link to submit tips can be located on our website and Facebook page, or you can simply text TIP, LTPD, followed by your message to 888-777. One thing I want to mention here, even though we live in a technological age and there still may be some people out there who don't have an email address or a cell phone, for those folks, they will need to register their home phone in order to get advisories that are sent out as a voice call. By default, they will only receive alerts unless they register. Maybe you have a neighbor or a family member like this. They want the messages but don't have the tools. and maybe they don't even have a computer. Well, we can help. You can call the Township Hall at 886-2005, extension 132, and we will help get you registered. Just another bit of information about Nixle. It also has the ability to let us create private groups. This will enable us to more effectively and efficiently communicate with our employees, the media, and any other groups we require. So if I had one thing to say that's most important about this service, it's that you need to register. That's it about Nixle. I actually have a quick thing about the Stop, Walk, and Talk program. The chief put out a press release today, so you can read more about it in the papers. Essentially, this is just where we're getting out and engaging our community, more so than just driving around. We're getting out at businesses, we're stopping and talking to people with lemonade stands or whatever's out there. I think this is going to help us out in the long run, better communicate with our citizens and provide services better for them.
Thank you.
All right.
Council, any questions or comments?
Real quick, just to reiterate, people have to register even for the simple advisories that we were getting before, because right now, everybody will get the emergency advisories, but you have to register to get any other information, and you have to go to their website to do so. There are links on the township website, I believe, to do so, to get right there, but you have to register. That's why we're happy to give you information. Marty's in charge of it, I guess. Of course, he's giving someone else's phone number.
Okay, thank
Marty, whenever you read about if you have a cell phone and not a home phone, that you need to register to get those alerts?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Registering is the key, and don't worry about if, your home phone is already registered. Register it again. You're not going to get 2 calls. Essentially, you want to get as much information as you want. You go on there and you can customize it. Do you want the phone call to the cell phone? Do you want it to your home phone? Do you want it to both? Email, text messaging, it's all there for you.
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning. I thought I talked fast. Did you say Comcast, right, they are already?
They are already registered for alert messages, yes.
Is this in addition to the community service phone calls we would get, or those 911 needs?
Yes, this is the entire package. This allows us to do not only that, but other kinds of messages. Yes.
Where does meter flushing come in there?
That would be an advisory. That would be an advisory. It's not something that's such an emergency that, life or limb is in peril. So you really need to register, and we need to get everybody to register. That's what I'm hoping for.
I mean, we don't have a register, but we do get the, flushing cares.
We get alerts. The way the system is utilized now is the way it's supposed to be utilized. In the past, we learned a little bit of this, a little bit of that, basically maybe overutilizing it, and then we found out that a lot of people were opting out, and so they weren't going to get the emergency ones anymore.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We move down to Lois Grimes, Coast Guard, Flotilla 86. I'm working it. New eyes.
Good evening, members of council and mayor. My name is Lois Grimes, as you know, and I'm here to represent the Coast Guard Auxiliary Flotilla 86 of Lower Township. Sorry if I turn around.
Sure.
There are 4 important components of safe boating. So listen up, because we're going to have a test afterwards. 4 cornerstones. The first thing about safe boating is this. This is the most basic of a life jacket. Not real comfortable to wear, but if this is all you have, it'll keep you afloat till somebody finds you, or you can make your way to land or get back in the boat again. There are all types of life jackets that are available. They even have them for your dogs now. They have them for babies as well as toddlers, for young children. I have some brochures on the table by the door that tells you how to pick the proper life jacket if you intend to spend any time on the water. The second thing that can keep you safe on the water is to take a safe boating class. And this class is required by the state of New Jersey if you intend to operate a vessel that is 12 feet or longer, and you must be 16 years of age to operate such a vessel. The course is taught by almost all of the flotillas and the auxiliary. It takes 1 day, about 8 hours. At the end of the class, there will be an examination, and if you pass the test, you will be giving your safe boating certificate. And you must carry it with you when you're out there on the water. It's the same thing as having your driver's license. You wouldn't really think home. You wouldn't think about leaving home without your driver's license on your person. And the next thing to do is to file a float plan. This is very, very important. If you're going out in your boat for the day, and you haven't telephoned anyone or let your family know, the next best thing that you could do is to write a note, place it on the windshield of your car, and leave the name of your boat and the time that you left and the time that you expect to return. And the other thing is to have a safety check on your boat. This is voluntary and it's free. We have qualified people in all of the flotillas who can do these safety checks. It's very basic. They're looking for such things as a fire extinguisher, a flare. Do you have something such as a whistle to make noise? Do you have some other type of a light? Larger boats have more requirements than the smaller vessels. And if your boat passes the safety inspection, the flotilla will put a sticker on your boat. And this is a way of notifying the state police and the Coast Guard that you're thinking about what you're doing when you're out there on the water, that you're paying attention to what is going on. I do have brochures about the vessel examinations, as they're called, on my table also. And the next thing that I want to remind people about is leave your beer on the dock and put your common sense in the boat. And all of these things will lead to a safer day on the water and another day to come back and enjoy your boat again. Thank you. Yes, there is a charge for the safe boating class. Our flotilla charges $45, and we have qualified instructors, and they do use film during this to make it more inclusive, to get some photographic images. Any more questions?
Thank you. Move down to the work session. Tom, you have Steve Delmonte.
I asked for Mr. Delmonte to be here. He's a representative of Delmo Sports, which, unlike some companies that do come in and say all this great stuff they're going to do for the township after they do their event, I have to say Delmo Sports has followed through on everything they've done. They have a highly successful event that's happening June 14th. It will affect traffic in the township, most likely North Cape May, as they shut down either full roads or partial roads. But I believe Mr. Ridgway has a few things he would like to say.
Steve Delmonte and the Delmo sports team have been an asset as well as ambassadors for Lower Township over the past 2.5 years. Steve has earned himself the reputation as one of the top promoters of triathlons throughout the country at this time. He's certainly come a long way in less than 3 years. Recently, he was invited to Dubai to help with running triathlon events, and our event has been sold out the past 3 years to individuals who will see Lower Township and all it has to offer the weekend of June 13th. We anticipate over 7,000 people to witness this exciting event, and these folks will certainly help fuel our economy for a weekend while being a part of one of America's hottest and newest sports. Steve wears his passion at all his events, and his competitors are very impressed with his attention to detail. Mr. Del Monte also has sponsored entire programs for the Lower Township Recreation Department and is someone we are proud to call our friend. Steve Del Monte, please come on up to address our residents and council.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I couldn't hear you, though. Next time you need to talk louder.
They keep complaining they can't hear, so we keep turning up.
I wanted to give you a little recap on what we did last year and what we're doing this year. In 2014, we had a successful event. We had 1,500 athletes. We sold the event out. We lucked out with weather. That is something we cannot control. We wanted to make the experience even better for the athletes, and we brought in a tugboat to help hold that boat still, and that was an epic fail. That didn't hold anything. But we tried. We told the athletes, we told the city, we're going to do everything we can do to hold that boat in place, and it didn't work out. So we're remedying that for this year. We had a lot of happy athletes, more than I thought we would, because there are so many things that can go wrong with an event like this. You got to understand, like, I have more gray hair now than I've ever had in my life, and more are coming down the road, and I know it's not just because of my kids. I obsess over this event. Absolutely obsess over it. I think about it all the time because it's something that is very special where we live. And some polls went out to triathletes, and in only our second year, this race was recognized in the Mid-Atlantic region as giving away something, winning the best T-shirt, having the best T-shirt, race shirt. Now there's 3,500 events in our region. We got the best T-shirt. We're excited about that. The best swag. Some of this swag means little stuff that you put in the bag for the athlete that makes them feel special. We were voted a top 5 most scenic race in the United States of America. That does not surprise us. We know what we have here. Lower Township's home to the best sunsets. Southern New Jersey's home to the best beaches. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. So I expect that award every year. Top 5 large race in the U.S. That's for a race over 1,000 people. In our inaugural year, or first year, we got top 5 small race, and that's under 1,000 people, and we immediately were able to get to the jump top 5 large race in the U.S. We were voted a top 5 bucket list event. That means if you're getting ready to kick the bucket, this is one you want to do. And the most prestigious award, I think, came through Competitor Magazine. Competitor Magazine is a major publication in the United States. The company that produces Competitor Magazine, they own the Rock and Roll Half Marathon series. It's the largest series in the world. That publication, the voters, the athletes voted Escape the Cape the best triathlon in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast regions. So that's from North Carolina to Maine. And there's a lot of races. And this was only our second year. But that's not what we do. That's not what I do. It's a combination of you got to have the right location, you got to have the right people involved, the athletes, and you also have to have a clue what you're doing. But I think that means the athletes, the city, the municipality, the township, ourselves, we worked hard to earn those accolades. So moving forward after that, and I really got to tell you, it's the community. I mean, people love coming here. They appreciate everything that you have to offer here. I know you don't always see it, but we get it all the time on our end. We hear it. What a magnificent place to be. And Eric, you were at the League of Municipalities where I spoke. And that day I received an email from a couple friends of mine. They're from Washington, D.C. They're friends of mine now because they did the race last year and we connected. They also came and did the race that we have in Wildwood from Washington, D.C. They bought a house in North Cape May. That's right. They bought a house in North Cape May, so we'd be collecting money from them for as long as they have it. And they wanted to know if I knew of a good plumber handyman because they had pipes break over the winter in their house, and they gotta do some extensive research. So that's economic impact right there. I mean, somebody's got to go in, they got to do the plumbing, they got to do the drywall, but they absolutely love where they live. So that's just an example of someone that did the race and bought a home. And these were people that always visited his family in Long Beach Island. They never went below exit 63. Never in their lives had they done it. And then they came here and they said, my Lord, look at all that they have down here. And we don't have to stay with your parents. This is fantastic. So moving on to Escape to Cape 3, we opened registration in the fall. In the fall, we sold out in 36 hours to 1,500 people. 25 states, including Canada, are involved. So we have New Jersey, PA, New York, of course, Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, DC, Maine, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Florida, North Carolina, New Hampshire, California. I said Maine. Was that Missouri, Ontario, Vermont, Minnesota, Tennessee, Wyoming, Rhode Island, Illinois, Texas, Wisconsin, Ohio, Arizona, and South Carolina. They're coming to Lower Township, New Jersey in 2 weeks. What you might not know about what we're doing is that we have a 55 to 45% male to female ratio. That's a way to close the gender gap. Typically, there's more guys than girls, but we get them. We get a lot. I guess you could say we get a fair shake. The top 2 triathlon clubs, the top 2 that we have participate, are both female triathlon clubs. The Mullica Hill Triathlon Club has 70 women coming, and from what I understand, there's more. They just forgot to check the box on the application. And the other top club is the Jersey Girls Stay Strong Multisport Club from North Jersey. They're rolling in with about 60 women, and I know there's more, but we're trying to keep these 2 groups separated once they get here. They are, in fact, the 2 largest female triathlon clubs in the country. They're right here in New Jersey. Just last week, we were given permission. We had 1,500 last year. We sold out 1,500 this year, and the U.S. Coast Guard gave us permission to allow an additional 250 people on the boat, and we have hit that limit. We are at 1,750 athletes. We have about 1,000 doing the sprint, about 750 doing the international. We have a paddleboard race this year taking place the morning of Packet Pickup, which is Saturday to the 13th. So we're utilizing that beautiful bay and the beachfront without bothering the ferry. We try to bother them as least as possible. And we also have our kids race taking place the afternoon of Packet Pickup. We do have some road closures. Last year, we thought using Ferry Road would be the best solution for this event. We realized, let's go back to Plan A, which was utilizing Jonathan Hoffman to clear up Ferry Road so that we take the congestion away from the shopping center and put it back behind. We really didn't have any issues the first year we did it. We don't expect we will this year. The Lower Township Police Department has traffic advisories for the morning. They are extremely active in helping anyone that lives along the race course. If you need to get out, simply give us a buzz. That way we make sure no one gets hurt, but they will absolutely act in the best interest of the residents. We're doing everything we can to create the least amount of impact as possible. You will know that Lower Township is reimbursed for every service. None of this comes out of the tax dollars money. That's a big deal. Like you said, we want to do more, especially with the rec department and kids. They're our backbone. We would like to do more in the future, so always, my number, hit me up. But moving forward, I'm exhausted. I can't wait to do this race. I ask that any of you, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us via our website. Our number is on there. You can call our office. We actually pick up the phone. And I know you have my cell up here that will do anything we can. I know I'm probably forgetting something, but I have an extreme amount of gratitude to the people of Lower Township. What I'm doing is a dream. And I can get choked up talking about it, but when you see some of these people doing what they do, we have 200 women racing in the Athena category. Does anybody know what that means, the Athena category? It means they're over 165 pounds. This is their first race. They're saying, Steve, I'm tired. I got to do something with my life or I'm going to die. On Sunday, we did a practice ride, and there was a gentleman there, and it turns out I lifeguarded with his brother in North Wildwood 15 years ago. No, that would be a lie. This would be 25 years ago, which means I'm getting old. He's down 170 pounds since last year, 170 pounds, because he heard about the race and he wanted to make a change in his life. This is real life. This is real people that have been smoking cigarettes their entire lives, that have been eating, whatever foods that aren't healthy, that say, I want to be here for my kids. When you see them jumping off the boat, it's a lot of fun, and you can get a kick out of it. But a lot of these people on that boat, they're changing their lives, and they're doing it in Lower Township. You've got to believe me when I tell you that when you give people an opportunity to do that, they forever change the community that they're associated with, because they have this mindset is, that's the place that I changed my life. It's the place where I changed my life. It will always be near and dear. And we're doing that. I will tell you, Mary Lee is not making things easier for us at all. And but the 16-foot, 3,500-pound great white shark who's in Wildwood today. But other than that, it makes people swim faster. So, but I don't know what else to say, really. I could keep going forever, but.
Listen, we're as proud of you as you are of us. And like I've said before, you could have planned D-Day. I mean, you were born for this. And we appreciate all that you do. Tom?
If someone, let's say someone wants to go down there, where's a good spot for them to watch part of the race at?
The best spot you can be is along Beach Drive. Obviously, be respectful for the people that live along Beach Drive, because I got to tell you, they're top notch. I mean, they take their hoses out. They ask for me to hang signs on their railings and whatnot. But Beach Drive is the spot, and we all know there's a place to go down to Beach Drive to sit and relax and have a cocktail or have a beverage. Lincoln Boulevard and Beach Drive there's a lot of action taking place there. And don't be afraid to walk down to the ferry. It's easy access to walk in. There's a lot of things going on. It's really the hub of the event. If you want to see people finish, if you want to see people come across that line and break down, because when I say break down, I mean get emotional, it's powerful. And if you have never seen anything like this, for anyone that's listening, and I'm sure a few people watch this, if you've never seen anything like this, this is the perfect opportunity that if you're thinking about making a change in your life at all for the better, come down to the ferry, race morning, walk down there, and look at the finish line. And when you see all shapes and sizes, all colors, all religions, all races crossing the finish line, and you look at them and say, why can't I do it? That's what you need to do. If you want to make a change, you got to come see this for yourself. You have to come see it. Come out there. I don't know if we'll have 7,000, but I'll tell you what, if we get good weather, we could get close. So please, for anyone that's going to come, be respectful of the people that live on Beach Drive, because they're really, none of them complain. And I appreciate all of you Beach Drive people for not complaining. But please come to the ferry, enjoy. We're going to have an after party there. There'll be specials and food and entertainment, but it's a remarkable day. We've caught lightning in a bottle with this event in this community at the right time, and we just are extremely grateful to Lower Township, to the DRBA, and to all the residents that live around, because they could very easily not be so incredible. And we will do whatever it takes. So when you see me or my crew, please engage us. I have a very strong powwow with them that we are an ambassador of this community, that you'll conduct yourselves like you're in a royal palace. That's how we're going to treat this place. So we don't leave any trash behind. You won't see any nonsense. It's first class all the way. That's our mantra at Delmo Sports, producing world-class events along the southern Jersey shore. That's what we want to do, and really, Escape the Cape has become the cornerstone of all of that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Always good. It's yourself, and I look at Cape May Brewery too. And, I think we're all very proud of the success that you've had, and that Ryan Krill and his people over there at the Cape May Brewery. And it's good to see young entrepreneurs in this township succeeding. So keep doing what you're doing, and thanks for the ideas, and thanks for the success you bring with the event. Thank you. Okay, we're down now to the consent agenda. Any council comments or questions regarding the consent agenda? I'd open up for public comment on the consent agenda. Close the public portion. Do I have you got to read your
Approval
stuff
of minutes,
first.
May 18th, 2015. Resolutions number 2015-169 through 2015-176.
Okay. Now I need a motion.
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Perry?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Resolution number 2015-177. This is for payment of voucher in the amount of $35,000, and it's for Lower Township Rescue.
Okay. Council comments?
I'm recusing myself from any discussion or anything.
Right. Public comments on this?
When you say the voucher, is this for services they've already performed?
This is, you have to come to the microphone so we can get the name and all that.
Hi, Kathleen Dine Tranquility. I said, does this mean it's for services already performed? if
This
it's
is
voucher?
no, it's part of a contract that we sign, which is a yearly contract.
Okay.
And
So you know what it was?
they get a certain stipend that we provide for the rescue squad.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, close the public portion. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion. Second.
Councilmember Conrad, abstain. I'm recused. Councilmember Perry?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Resolution number 2015-178. This is an authorization for clothing allowance. They are for 5 detectives at $900 each, totaling $4,500.
Council comments? Open up for public comment. Close the public portion. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Perry?
Abstain.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes. Move down to council comments.
I want to thank everybody that did come out Memorial Day for Marvin Hume's flag ceremony. That they did fly his flag. They changed the ceremony. I want to thank the Humes for continuing the flag ceremony at Sunset Beach. For over 40 years, it's been part of this township. It brought a lot of people across the country notice of Lower Township. It was a beautiful day. The sunset was great, and the people were great. And I want to thank everyone that did show up. Relay for Life was this weekend. For those of you, we announced it, told what it was. It was a fundraiser for the American Cancer Society. It was highly successful, even though they had, I think, they were highly, what's the word to use? Hopeful of how much money they would raise, and they set the bar kind of high for a first-year event. They almost made that amount, even though some third and fourth-year events don't do it. They were a little bit short, but there's still time for donations. But the Relay for Life is not like paying for a mile or anything. When I brought my scouts there, and Mr. Simonson was also there, and one of the scouts, what the relay is to bring awareness to people that cancer's still out there and it's affecting most of the people. It affects almost everybody. Someone knows somebody that had cancer passed away from it. And they have a ceremony called the Luminary Ceremony, in which a bag is put out with a tea light, flameless because it's on school grounds, and the whole area was darkened. So you can see all the bags lit up with somebody's name on it that we lost to cancer. And it's very touching, moving part. And a little bit after, about midnight, one of my scouts was asked to go, "So, are you enjoying yourself, having a good day?" He goes, "I was pretty happy." But he goes, until we hit that ceremony, he goes, then I realized what was happening. And he goes, I wanted to walk for these people, because they explained that the history of it is a doctor started this by walking to raise awareness. One of these scouts, almost 11 years old, walked over 30 miles that night. And he kept count, because they have little lap beads. And every time you do a lap, you get a bead. I did 13 miles. It's great to do it, but people have to know about it. And I had a little, almost, as I said, 11-year-old that wanted to raise awareness that did almost over 30 miles. I had another one that did 26, and he didn't think he was going to be able to do 8 miles through the whole thing. We had groups from all over and all age groups come. It was a first-time event, and I want to thank Buffy Hinker, especially, Buffy Miller, Bruce Miller, who was the background guy that did everything, and Kirby Reed, who's kind of ours, used to be the Herald reporter here. She's now with the American Cancer Society, for bringing this event to Lower Township. Lower Township first-year event almost raised $30,000 for cancer research and to help people, and they deserve all the credit they can. And the last thing I want to bring up today is, please remember, June 14th, Escape the Cape. They're closing a lot of roads and changing traffic. They're going to try to get it as best they can, but we have to get the word out there.
First of all, I'd like to thank Jim Ridgway, our manager, and Gary Douglas, I don't see him here this evening, and the Public Works Department. We had some issues up on Beach Drive in North Cape May regarding beach access. 2 sections there were extremely dangerous. And Jim got the ball rolling, and we had some complaints from some people. Mr. Ridgway got a hold of, I believe, Steve Morey and also Gary Douglas, and they got the permission from DEP to come down here and make emergency repairs to make the area safe. They did an excellent job. Everything was done through Public Works. No outside contracting to take care of that. Also, as a request, Public Works has also marked pedestrian crosswalks on Beach Drive in North Cape May, and have posted signs for pedestrian crosswalks to try to make it a little bit safer for the people that are accessing the beach down there, and also to make drivers aware that there are pedestrians out there, and they have the right of way in those crosswalks. So.
We did have our meeting for the Exit 0 interchange. It wasn't really very well attended, but that's fine. That means we didn't have any complaints, because the last time they were here, we expressed our concerns, had follow-up meetings with them. I know the residents that live along that route are happy with the outcome that we got, which is taking out one of the jug handles that they plan on putting in. If anyone needs any more information on that, they can contact me or our manager. We also have maps that we can show you if you weren't able to attend the meeting. That work will begin after the summer. You'll be happy to know. We all are. But definitely will increase safety in that area, and that's the area by Cape Urgent Care, Cape May Liquors, the ice creamery there right before the Cape May Bridge. So that looks like it's moving forward, and we appreciate the Department of Transportation and Turnpike Authority working with us and listening to us and our residents. Also, like Tom said, the Relay for Life event was really an eye-opening event. It was all night. I know because I'm still recuperating from it, sleeping on the ground with a bunch of teenage kids. But I tell you, it was great to see the young kids. You know, everything from infants to senior citizens out there walking the track together. It was neat. I mean, there's all kinds of stories, but I know I walked at one point, and I think they might even have been some of Tom's scouts. We were walking with a gentleman who was explaining his story. They asked him why he had the colors he had on, and he was explaining the type of cancer he had and how it was treated. And for about 2 laps, the kids got an education on different types of cancer, and I think they realized that, you know, they were there for something more than just walking the track all night. There were many activities, and we just want to thank all the community members, the organizers, the volunteers, and obviously the participants, because it was a great community event that brought everybody together here in Lower Township, and I'm sure that next year will even be bigger and better. So with that, I think that's it for me.
Okay, I have 3 things to cover this evening. The first off is talking about our situation with FEMA. You know, fortunately, our community was not hit that badly by Sandy, but we were hit by that 4-letter word called FEMA. And FEMA brought their newfangled wave models that apply to oceans and not to bays, and applied them to us, and put a whole bunch of our citizens as a result of this into a flood zone, what they call the V zone. People that were never in a flood zone and never seen a flood are now in a flood zone. And what this is going to mean is that these folks are going to be faced with much higher insurance rates. And when they go to sell their houses, it's going to be more difficult because of these higher insurance rates. It's going to impact our property values. It impacts hundreds of people along our community. So one of the things that we learned is that we are not alone, and we shouldn't fight this alone. And so we urged our state senator to gather up all of the communities that are affected by this along the Bayshore and hold a meeting and form a group. And we did that a couple of months ago. And this past week, we came back for the second time and agreed to organize what we're calling the Delaware Bayshore Council. And this is going to be comprised of the mayors or their designates of all of the communities along the Bayshore, including Maurice Township, including Down Township, Middle Township, and Lower Township. It includes many, many organizations that have expertise and understanding about what's going along the Bayshore, including the Bivalve Organization and the Littoral Society. And we have pledged to, the first thing we've pledged to do is put forth to the state legislature a special resolution that declares the Bayshore region to be an area of great significance. And the purpose of this is to put our beloved Bayshore on the map in the state legislature, because we're going to be coming back to them saying that we need attention and we need help and support. And so this group is banding together, recognizing that we're all in the same boat. And we've got to stand together or we're going to be falling together with one of these storms. We all have an interest in seeing our Bayshore replenished for all the animals that live along the Bayshore, including the horseshoe crabs, including the red knots, including the gulls and the humans that enjoy the Bayshore. They all have an interest in seeing that Bayshore replenished. And there are plans out there to replenish the Bayshore. They've been out there for many years. The Army Corps has approved the plans, but they haven't been funded. And the reason they haven't been funded is because we don't, according to their view, we don't have enough economic value to make it worth their while along here. But what we do have, besides the economic value, is the ecological and environmental and national significance of our Bayshore. And so we're going to be rattling that cage from here to Trenton and all the way to the governor's office. Now, I was really privileged to be asked to chair this committee, this council, going forward. And so we're going to be meeting every other month, and we're going to be collating and getting a consensus about our long-range goals and our short-range goals, and we're going to make sure this thing continues as we go forward. So we'll give you reports as that unfolds. The second thing is our beloved Fishing Creek School, and we have John Louderback here, who's chairman of the Friends of Fishing Creek School. And as you know, they've looked after the school. They fulfilled our township's responsibility to take good care of it and historically renovate it. That's been completed. They now have a certificate of occupancy, and now they're getting ready to make it usable for the community. First off, they have organized a art exhibit and plant exchange at the Fishing Creek School on Saturday, June 13th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And John, would you like to get up and add anything to that? It's going to be one of the first public events since the school has been renovated, and people are going to be surprised. The volunteers have been in there painting the interior, so it looks better than it's ever looked.
Almost finished.
Almost finished.
We're getting there. I did want to point out, thank you for the plug, by the way, but I did want to point out that we also encourage people to bring photos, being how it does have a duality of a 2 times of community event, of an art exhibit and a and a plan exchange. We do.
Can you hear him in the back? No, you're too far from the mic.
We
What
do
is a
want to
plan
encourage
exchange
people-
to you?
We want to encourage people to bring photos of their gardens and so forth, and we will also, along with the several local artists exhibiting at the schoolhouse at the time, we also encourage people to bring in photos of their gardens, and we'll exhibit those as well.
Is that what a plant exchange is? We get to see other people's gardens, or do we actually exchange plants?
Well, no, you'll be exchanging plants, seeds, ideas.
How about weeds?
Well, that
I got
goes
tons
without
of them.
saying. If you, there's no sod there, so there's plenty of weeds. But yeah, we're looking for an exchange of ideas, plants, seeds, photographs, and that's pretty much our event. And the indoors will obviously be the art exhibit itself, which will have a garden theme. So,
And these are local artists?
yes,
Okay, great.
yeah. At this point, we have 5 or 6 artists, and we're still hoping for more.
John, thanks to the Friends for all that you're doing. And I also should mention that the elementary school superintendent called and said that he's going to be coming out with a delegation this week to survey the school and come back with ideas on how the elementary school can use the facility for early childhood education programs as well as after-school reading. So we look forward to that.
Oh yeah, we certainly do, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, John. And the last point I want to make is that at the last meeting, we had a pretty hotly discussed issue relating to our, some revisions to our beach ordinance, specifically prohibiting people from walking their dogs between the hours of 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. between, I guess it would be the week before Memorial Day to Labor Day. And there were quite a few people that came as a result of that. There were people on both sides of the issue with some pretty strong feelings. And we agreed at the last meeting that we would table it for further consideration. One of the things I've learned in 2 years of being on council, and this came to me, this lesson came to me as a result of the discussion about the the path along the sidewalk along the Bay Shore over there in North Cape May. And we did the minimum requirement. We put a little notification in the paper that we were going to have a discussion about it. We discussed it, then we passed it, and then we got hundreds of citizens come in and really say, wait a minute, you didn't take us into consideration, you didn't let us know that we were going to have this discussion, and we want a chance to weigh in on this. And so once we realized that a lot of people had strong feelings about it, we actually did an automated call. And we never had more people come to a meeting than that meeting. There was a line outside the door. I'll never forget it, as we sat here and listened to people that had really strong opinions on the issue of that sidewalk. And the lesson that I learned then was that whenever we come to an issue that involves a lot of people, it involves their public spaces, it involves something as precious as the Bay Shore, which we all want to come to enjoy, we ought to bend over backwards to make sure that we communicate our ideas, that we get input from people, get discussion, and make sure we're doing it right. And that's the reason we encourage to table it. And I'm disappointed that the decision was made to hold a special meeting, I guess a week from today, in order to have this discussion. And this will be at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's a special meeting that is going to be the second, I guess the second reading or the first reading?
Second reading.
The second reading of this ordinance, because we're required to have a second. And I know that a lot of the council felt strongly that we should try to move our meetings to 7. We should try to give everybody an opportunity to come to the meetings. And I just think that moving this discussion that we all know has got strong feelings on both sides to a special meeting that's not likely to get the attention of people and not likely to get a big crowd. Last special meeting, we only had one person show up. And I just don't think that's the way to have a good discussion about it. And I'm disappointed because I don't want to repeat the mistakes that we made with the previous situation. So I just want to get the word out, because it's not really been discussed, that there is planning to be a special meeting a week from today at 4 o'clock. And we should really get the word out for people that have feelings about how our beaches should be properly looked after and administered during the summer months. And I know I've been getting emails on the subject already from the people that did see it on the paper. There's been 2 or 3 emails from people that are weighing in on this thing. And I do know it's an important issue because one of the things that this ordinance deals with is not doing fireworks. And that's already something that we've had on there. And just this past week, we had some of the biggest fireworks I have ever seen in my life, almost as big as the ones we put in the bay, be shot off from the back of just 2 houses over from where I live. We had to call the police. I stood on the back and ran out and shouted to the people, please stop. And every year, for the last 3 years, they've been shooting fireworks off, and each year they get bigger. 2 years, we've had huge fires. One of them was at least a 3-alarm fire that had to come out and take care of this. So the reason I bring up that point is we've got a lot of rules on the books pertaining to the use of our beaches that need to be policed, that need to be enforced. We got to make sure we do a good job of enforcing what we've got, because just with the fireworks in the last 3 years, that's been an issue that we've got to be vigilant about. So I encourage council to do everything they can to get as many people involved in this discussion before we make any decision, just before the season begins. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of special meetings because they're just not attended. I'm not sure we're doing the right thing here, and I don't mean to be argumentative with you, but when we left the last meeting, I was really under the impression we were going to sit back and study that ordinance for a while and then, kind of move in a deliberative fashion, probably at the end of the season. And we've had, I think, 5 special meetings since December. And in the 5 years previous, we had 1 special meeting. And special meetings, I don't care what you do. If you're relying on, page 4 of the Star and Wave, Section B, to advertise, which I have a lot of respect for the paper, don't get me wrong. It's just a question that most people don't read that section. They read the front, they read the editorial, they read the letters or whatever. And it is an issue that you really want to get people to bring their voices to council on. It's an important issue to a lot of people. And, we don't have 3 votes. I mean, I objected, I voted no. I didn't think that we needed to have a special meeting for this. I've never seen a special meeting to pass an ordinance. And, we're in it. So, that'll be next Monday, and it's at 4 o'clock, which is an awkward time in itself. I mean, the whole predication of moving meetings from 6 to 7 was based upon getting more people to come to the meeting. So you run a special meeting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then, see, when you, and like I said, I'm not sure how I would vote on this ordinance. I really am not. But when you create a problem in the process, then that becomes an issue. And I think that's where we're at right now, is I object to the process, because it seems like we're going against what we talked about at the last meeting, which was to move in a kind of a deliberative fashion on this thing. Whatever, so be it. There's other announcements. I'll get those out of the way. We got pool passes now on sale at the rec center. And the Lower Township Community Day and Bike Auction, that's this Saturday, right? June 6th? And that's at the rec center, noon to 3 o'clock. If you have a son or a grandchild or daughter or whatever, I mean, do we have a lot of bikes? We don't know.
I don't know.
Okay. That's a good day to pick up a summer bike for the kids. We have Escape the Cape, June 14th. We have Independence Day Festival and fireworks, Friday, July 3rd, on the Bayfront and North Cape May. Here we go with our summer concert series. July 8th is the Soul Cruisers. July 15th is the B Street Band. July 22nd is Separate Ways. July 29th is the Morrison Brothers. Highly recommended, right? August 5th is Danny V's. Who was it to put the Morrison Brothers in there? Was that you, Eileen? Is that a country band? Okay, I got that. All right, I see that. Okay, so with that, we'll do a call to the public. If you have a comment, it doesn't matter. Let the lady go first here in the front row. Yes, Ms. Dunn.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Kathleen Dinan, Lower Township, Tranquility. 2 questions, because this is not an issue that should need a lot of debate. At the May 4th meeting, I asked the council consider and vote on extending the policy of a police background check that is now in place for those who work with children to all council appointees, so we don't have repeats of the last 2 failures of appointees to the MUA and other positions. Tax dollars should be protected as well as children. So can we please schedule a vote for that? You've had, Eileen, I called today and it was distributed to all of you I gave you a copy May 4th. It was distributed officially May 13th. How much thinking does that take? Okay, guys, can we take a vote?
I think that is a vote.
What is a vote?
The fact that nobody's moving forward to even suggest that we want to look at it at this point. Maybe down the line if somebody on council does. But it's up to council, one of the members, to say, well, I'd like to see.
Then you're willing to take the next, you embarrassed a man, you guys should be ashamed of yourselves. You put a man in an untenable position by not checking his background, appointing him to a board, and he ended up having to resign. That's untenable.
I'm not sure.
That's not using
I'm not sure that
responsible
that's even-
decision-making.
That's not even, I'm not even sure that what you're saying is A, accurate. B, the gentleman that resigned, the only thing that I know is that he was ill.
He came to me, sir, there's a lot more to it
Okay,
than he
then-
was ill.
then that's-
I'm saying
that's
you
not a-
embarrassed him,
Mrs. Steinen,
and if you
I
don't
know
read the
what your-
Herald, you
I don't know
you
what,
did, you'd
what your,
notice it.
I don't know what your goal is.
My goal
But-
is to make sure we don't appoint inappropriate people.
Okay, well, that's fine. You've submitted the paperwork. If anybody on council wishes to press forward with it, they may do so.
Okay, thanks. And the second question is, are we ever going to press forward with the safety building?
I have no idea.
Oh, cut me a break. You wanted to ram through months ago to get it down into the villas, and that was public referendum in the vote, and obviously the public does not want it here. So,
Well,
guys,
what's your
what does
point?
it
I
take to
think
get the
it's-
police a decent place to work?
Ms. Dinan, that's the manager, I believe, can answer this question better. He's working with the county on this because there's
That's
a
fine. I
lot
don't
of
care who answers it. I just
background
wanted to know an
evidence.
answer.
We are still awaiting information from the county, and I would think in the next month, I'll be coming back to council with what the county's offer is with regards to what we've discussed with them. There was a preliminary plan, it was been modified, but we're waiting to get numbers from their attorney and from their architect before we go further. And we discuss things weekly.
Okay. They
Yeah,
did offer
if
the
I may-
option of selling the building back to them for $3 at this point. He told me.
Well,
I mean, and then instead of floating a bond, you pay the county. That might be really valuable way to go. Anyway, guys, you've made such a big deal out of the presentation about the Port Police and the mold and all that nonsense. And here we are 6 months later, and there's a very viable option on the table. Nobody's doing anything.
You're just not seeing what's being done. There is stuff being done on this, but
Okay.
government doesn't always move.
It
super
takes
fast.
time.
You call
It-
911.
what happened was, we had vote, as council after that, was, we had voted to move forward with correspondence with the county. Our manager had the letter, he had to officially send a letter to them to open discussions. We are awaiting back from their solicitor, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ridgway, they're supposed to get back to us to open discussions, but in the meantime, the last time I spoke to him, which was just the other day, I've been following up on it, is Ms. Anne Marie McMahon was, I guess the RFP had gone out, which is a request for purchase for architects and, on not only the police building, but the dispatch and their emergency management, and they have a pool of people that they have to go through the bidding process, and that will take, I believe she said, up to June 10th. They'll have some answers, and it's a long process, but it is
Okay.
in the process, and it's not something that we can speed up on our end.
That's fine. It's just be nicer if you share that kind of information. Let us all know what's going on, even if it's just that you can't do anything for a while until you're waiting. But if you let us know, it's a lot easier. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Come on.
Helen Thompson Villas. I'm opposed to the special meeting for the beach ordinance, okay? 4 o'clock, most people in the villas, they're working at 4 o'clock, most people. I thought that was a whole big discussion at the beginning of the year about just what, I think it was Mr. Clark said, about moving the meeting to 7 o'clock so people could attend. You guys just want to, I know, okay. Mayor Beck, Mr. Clark said they didn't vote for this. So it must be you, Mr. Conrad, you, Mr. Perry, and you, Mr. Simonson. You want to just slip an ordinance through without public input or what? You had one meeting here, 4 o'clock, nobody's going to be able to make it. And not only that, that meeting was based, it was said in the meeting, 2 weeks ago. That meeting was based on recommendations from the advisory board, from Steve Morey. Okay, 2 of his recommendations were incorrect. He said this is what he said. I rewatched the tape. He said this: without the proposed beach ordinance, he specifically stated, Mr. Morey.
Well, I think if you just clarified, that without bringing his name into it,
Okay.
just clarify what the statement you're trying to do, that
What
would
I'm
be a lot
trying to
better.
say is there's already an ordinance for fires on the beach, and there's already a
Okay.
leash law, and there's already defecation law.
Right.
And, why are you even picking a special meeting? That's what I'd like to know. Why?
Well, first, I'd like to clarify, we don't vote on anything. I get a call, just like everyone else up here, from the clerk asking if I can attend the special meeting to discuss any issue, this issue, at 4 o'clock. I said, yes, I can attend. Okay, so we didn't vote on anything yet.
Well, whose idea is a special meeting?
Well, you have to have 3 votes, and Julie, you're going to have to say.
We get a request from a council member.
Can you-
Right.
As long as there are 3 council members in agreement, I need to call all 5 to see, but either, the only person who can call a special meeting is the mayor.
Right.
Or
3 council people.
members.
Well, I know I said no.
Mr. Clark said no.
So
That left Mr. Simonson, Mr. Perry, and Mr. Conrad
if
want a
somebody
special
here is
meeting.
saying they didn't, then the meeting doesn't go.
Did y'all?
there has
did
to
you
be
I'm saying we
agree?
didn't
Yeah.
vote,
Yeah.
there's a difference between agreeing to a meeting and voting on something. Let's get that
Well,
clear.
if
This
it's
is for the
voting to
second
have a
reading.
meeting is what we're talking about.
No, agreeing to
Or
have a
agreeing
meeting.
to have a meeting, which is the consensus. I
And
did
let
not-
me tell you something, if anybody up here, I don't care who it is, asks to have, I would agree to attend. So,
So you think it's fine to have a special meeting at 4 o'clock where half the public isn't going to attend for something that affects almost everybody in this township?
that's the time the special meetings have always been. If we want to change the time, that's something we can discuss.
So you usually do a special meeting to pass an ordinance?
I just told you, every special meeting I've ever attended, it has been at 4 o'clock, but that doesn't mean the time can't be changed.
So when are the people going to be notified? It's not even online yet. It's not even on the website yet. It's not even on the township website yet. You're
I think
having
you were
a meeting
notified.
next week
Well,
at 4 o'clock.
Excuse me, from a legal perspective, they ran an ad in the legal section of the Star and Wave. So
That's what's
the-
required by the.
that is all that's required. Now, that is all that you need to do. I think that's already been spoken. The whole concept of Whether you think that's right or wrong is something different other than the legal requirement.
I'm opposed to it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'm opposed to it. And Mike, listen, I had 2 detectives at my door last week on the 21st, from something that arose here at this township. Somebody from this township sent them. I'd rather not say who. I know who it was. The detectives told me. I would just, if I just want to say this very nicely. If I'm waiting at the manager's door to speak to the manager, that I'm waiting to speak to the manager. I mean, if I'm there to speak to you, I'm there to speak to you. I'm pretty familiar. I come here pretty often. I'm pretty familiar with all the people that work here. I pretty well know if I need to speak to the tax assessor or the township clerk or you or the manager. That I know sort of where to go. I don't really need to be approached by other people, correct?
Okay, what's your point?
My point is, I don't appreciate having detectives at my door the day after I show up here.
Okay, I don't know a single thing about that.
Well, if you want to talk about it, not
No,
here,
that's all right.
but to the side. I mean, I don't
right.
need more,
I don't know where that.
you know what I mean?
No,
Anyway, I just wanted to say that.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
Thank you. anybody else wish to address council? This lady here.
Janet Pittsvillas. I also want to say I'm not pleased with the special meeting for the beach. I read the initial ordinance and I read the revised ordinance. There's a lot of things in there and big changes for a lot of people, dog owners, people who have jet skis. It's confusing. It's going to need a lot of clarification because you changed the definition of watercraft, which I understand in one part, but in another part, people are going to have issues with the catamarans and those types of boats being stored on the beach. There's a multitude of issues with the whole thing. My basic let's say displeasure with the whole thing is that the rec board is an advisory board and it doesn't quite seem to be operating in that capacity. When I was a member and John was a member of the mayor's advisory board, which you dissolved for the citizens advisory board, which met like 5 times and fell apart, we had to come and give updates on what we were working on. The Rec Advisory Board doesn't seem to do that. They seem to be coming up, and correct me if I'm wrong, they created the ordinance, which I'm surprised at that in and of itself, but they do not seem to be acting in advisory. They need to come to council meetings, which we were made to do, and I have yet to see them do, because not many people attend those meetings. You have department updates here. You only have one advisory board anymore, and I think it's appropriate if they're doing such big things like bike paths and looking at fishing piers and now beach revisions and indoor swimming pools and things like that nature. They need to bring it to a council meeting and maybe lay out the whole 5-year master plan of what you intend to do.
That's been done.
Can I
I
respond?
haven't heard it. Not
Well, maybe you
attended
missed
every
that meeting, or all the
last-
meetings.
The last
Well,
meeting,
they gave everything out of the master
They
plan.
go over their
and the
master plan,
ordinance.
yes, at the council meetings, yes.
They did.
They've come up normally.
and Mr. Maury at the last meeting, who was on the Rec Advisory Board, spoke at length about the discussion with the beach. So they were at the last meeting speaking about
Well,
the
yeah,
ordinance.
but you've already done the ordinance. I'm talking about throwing these ideas out of what your intention is, like indoor swimming pool. How many people know that the Rec Advisory Board is looking to do a 3-to-1 share or exchange with the state for open space, and where are you going to put it? Next to the high school, in back of Public Works, over at the MUA. There's all kinds of decisions that I think the public would like to have input into, and to say, we've already decided, we've put it in an ordinance, and now the only thing left is for council to look at the ordinance, maybe tweak it a little, and then the public will get to have a say. Maybe they don't like any of it, and you've already written it in an ordinance, and you want to implement it before 4th of July, which I have a problem with. 2, it's the middle of the season. The second homeowners, if they're teachers and they're working in Pennsylvania and waiting to come down for the summer till, when school lets out, where's their notification that this is a change from the way it was last year? What if they bring their dog down on the beach, or
I think that
have their liquor on the beach, or whatever they're going
arguments
to do?
are well-founded, but I
Not
think you
really.
need to come to the meeting next week.
I know,
This is that.
but
This is
it
not-
disturbs me that it's already in an ordinance.
We're not doing the ordinance tonight, and I think that the concept is to make sure that those people who have an interest in this do understand that there is a special meeting.
So then you would conceivably, if you get public outcry, like the bike path, just nix the ordinance.
Passed.
Yes,
I
you
didn't know
would.
There's public outcry about the bike path.
You
I'm
mean
sorry,
the-
not bike.
You mean the sidewalk?
The
Okay,
path
I know, you
in
get
North
confused
Cape
with
May
things.
along the beach.
The problem is,
Huge.
they did advise everybody, they brought it forth, the idea, months ago. They've been coming to meetings, saying what's going on. This first came out, I think, in March or something, and council, someone on council passed it to the solicitor to put it in ordinance form. And they went from their ideas, and there was discussion, and that's what last meeting was for, is to discuss. That's why
I
it
know,
wasn't
but you're
passed.
talking March, April. It's already in an ordinance. First reading's already been done. This concept came about way long ago. And I think it's at the point of conception or putting it out there. This is what we want. Then have the public meetings to discuss it for all the things, not only the beach access, but the indoor swimming pool concept and, the whole thing, all the things that you're planning. Bring it, come, but early, not when it's written in an ordinance. And then, people have last minute thing. I know you want to get it through before 4th of July, so it doesn't give the public a lot of time to input it. That's all I ask. Rec advisory is advisory, and
did.
they should be advising the citizens and have plenty of time to discuss it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Moore.
I'm going to count to 10 and give some advice. Yeah, okay. I'm a little tired of everyone saying they didn't have time to read something, they didn't have time to talk about it. Let me just straighten a couple things out. One, every one of our Recreation Advisory Board meetings are open to the public, so if you want to get off the couch and show up to one of our meetings, you're welcome. It's advertised, it's on the website, we have our agenda, our minutes are posted every meeting, one of the few
right.
one of the few boards that are
Time out, please.
that are posted. So everything we do is out there in the public. We did a 5-year master plan. We presented it in public. I've asked over and over again to have that published on the website. It hasn't been published yet. I don't know why, but it hasn't been. That's not our fault. So if it's on there, then you can read all about it and read about the pool. You can read about the bike path. You can read about the walking path. You can read about all the things we've been working on. We're a group of volunteers that work very hard. We take our job seriously. We are an advisory board. When we're asked to look at a topic such as the safety on the beaches and the fact that there was no ordinance and the past manager and other administrators went to the newspaper or took part in an article in the newspaper last year saying there was no rules on our beach, come and have fun. We took that seriously. We looked and we did find a scrap of a rule that was first prepared in 1975 and was way outdated. And we took our time and we worked on it for months and we came up with a thorough, thoughtful ordinance that we then presented to council for their review. The 5 of you have that ordinance. You've had it for a couple of months. You've had time to go down to the beaches and see what's going on. I don't know why we have to complain to continue to have discussions with everybody when you're just going to have this side saying we want to walk the dogs 24 hours a day and another side talking about defecation on the beach. You were elected to be leaders. We gave you an ordinance. I'd like you to read the ordinance. Think about what the ordinance
Well,
says.
thank you for reminding me why I was elected to be a leader. You know, the point of this is, we're talking about the process here, Steve. We're not,
Process, no.
excuse me, I'm speaking just
Okay.
for a second. This conversation revolves, I'm not discussing the ordinance tonight. The ordinance is next
Not
week.
either.
I'm here talking about this process, and I don't think that it is open government. And that's where I'm at. Now, I didn't have this conversation at the last meeting because we were doing it the way it was supposed to be. We were pulling it apart. We decided to table it, and there was a lot of conversation about the fact that we needed to drop back and look at this thing. Within a week, I get a call saying it's going to be a special meeting and we're moving forward with this thing. That's my problem. And my leadership is to sit here and to let the township know exactly what's going on. That's all. I don't
Why
need
wouldn't
this.
they know what's going
Steve,
on,
I
Mayor?
don't need this fight. I didn't start this thing tonight. This was a deal that, had we done it the way I thought it was going to come after last meeting, we spend the summer investigating it, and we had spoken with the manager about increasing enforcement down there. And then at the end of the summer, in a deliberate fashion, we would take into consideration the voices of the public, which we're not going to hear, because that'll be next Monday at 4 o'clock.
Mayor, you heard the voices of the public last meeting. That's not going to change. It's going to be the same voices saying the same thing.
Perhaps it's so, but it's why they have two readings on an ordinance.
Okay.
Because a lot of people may have not come because it wasn't, they didn't hear about it or whatever, but we're going to have the second reading. It's coming up.
And I sit here meeting after meeting, and people march up here and say they didn't know about it, they didn't hear about it. I don't understand that. Why don't they know about it? It's published. Anything we do up here at this meeting is published around a way it's supposed to be legally published. Every meeting is recorded so they can watch the meeting. So if people really care about what's going on in their township and their neighborhood, they'll know about it.
Well, regardless, it's the same reason why when we have a special meeting and one person comes, we have to do it so that people have the opportunity. It's up to them to come. It's up to them. The point that I'm saying is, and this is the only point, I don't like the special meetings because to me, unless there's an absolute emergency involved, it doesn't get the kind of, people look at the town meetings every other Monday, first and third Monday. They're not looking to go and every week currycomb the Star and Wave looking to see if there's going to be a special meeting. And I mean, it could have even been put on the agenda tonight that there will be a special meeting next week, but it wasn't. And it's just that when we did have the pushback on the beachfront, and to their credit, I mean, I supported the sidewalk initially, but to their credit, they got together, they banded and brought in both sides, or whatever, those for it, those against it had the same opportunity. I don't know that the people who are against this ordinance will have that same opportunity, because I think that by the time they find out about it, next Monday's meeting, we'll have come and gone. That's why I'm saying that I don't know that it's fair.
Mayor, I guess I'm looking at it from a point of that, we can't make every decision that the mayor and council makes a referendum. That's not possible.
I get that.
These meetings, this ordinance is a public safety issue for the way our beach is being developed and being used now. I don't know what comments you need other than people saying it's not fair, I can't walk my dog, and it just gets out of whack. It turns into a political circus, and it's just not right. We can't wait a whole summer again to pass an ordinance that was discussed back in 2009 and still is not passed, or even there wasn't even a draft.
Well, if somebody
order
on
for that.
council felt that strongly about it, it was their opportunity and their obligation to bring it forward earlier. It's not the fault of the people here who want to have discussion on it that we're now hell-bent for leather to get this thing passed. It's not their
I
fault.
think it's because summer's here, and we had a pretty nasty Memorial Day weekend down there. If you heard what I've heard, what went on down there this
I don't know that. All I know is that my argument is right now is with the process. My comments on the beach ordinance, I really don't want to discuss it now because we're opening up a can of worms.
Okay.
My argument and the conversation that began with the deputy was about the process.
Well, is 4 o'clock? Why is 4 o'clock our? I mean, the special meeting's fine, but why is that not at 7 o'clock instead of 4?
Well, the real question that I had was why does it have to be at a special meeting? And I mean, I think that there was, when people left here last week, there was the week before, the impression that we were going to sit back and take another look at this and then move, like I said, deliberately in a fashion that would kind of take a look at the whole situation, and not only from the perspective of what was recommended, but also from the perspective of, say, for instance, enforcement. And then sit back and see if we could find that middle ground that government tries to find. And I don't know that in what we're doing here now, I'm not sure, and with due respect to the other council and stuff like that, I just think we're creating a fight that we don't need to do. And that's what I'm saying.
Based on the history of last summer and summers past, and again, this has been going around since 2009, so obviously these problems have been here. I don't know that it's a good idea for the township to let this go another summer without some rules in place. And if you're uncomfortable with, some of the rules and you wanted a little more time, I don't know what to say about that. But, we worked very hard. We did this over the winter. We got them to you in plenty of time for review before the summer started. We've gone through Memorial Day weekend now. 4th of July is going to be another big weekend. And
I understand.
Quite frankly, it's putting the township at risk if somebody really gets hurt down there and there's not something in
Steve, I
place.
went out of my way last time to make sure you understood that anything that I was saying, I had no problems with what you guys had done as far as moving it forward. Okay? So let's keep it within the parameters of what I'm saying.
Well, I'm
Next
just,
Monday
just
will
making
be,
the point. I think that's why the special meeting would be important. If we go into July 4th is the first, Monday or whatever, and then people would say, you can't spring these rules on us on July 4th. Well, then maybe a special meeting the second week of June gives 2 weeks before the next huge weekend when everybody's coming down to get this out there and let everybody know.
and I appreciate that, but there's a cost that comes with what you're doing, and that cost is a little piece of the open government, in the sense that, as I have said, I think that there's going to be a lot of people that will be reading about this ex post facto, after it's already done. Excuse me, you can't do this. You can't do this. Okay, so,
I hear you, Mayor.
Okay,
We have
thank you.
difference of
Thank you,
opinion, but
Steve.
that's okay.
Steve, thank you for everything you do. And Mr. Manager, can we now get the 5-year plan? They did bring it up last year. Can we try to get that on the, wait.
Yeah, Steve did send it to me to put on the website. I was having an issue with the size of it, getting it on there.
I have.
Okay.
I already wrote it down.
All right, thank you.
Wait a second. Somebody who hasn't spoken, we're going to take this gentleman here first. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, Bill Greenfield, Villas. First of all, I'd like to take offense at the sometimes snarky attitude Mr. Maury has with people that don't agree with anything that he proposes, or
You can't-
be back there making
Thank-
gestures,
You need,
comments. Especially, I noticed it especially for the bike path that was proposed in North Cape May. I just want to say that, first of all.
please go to your issue.
Thank
you.
Second thing is, exactly what changes are proposed from the ordinance that was at the last?
The ones I know we suggested, I'm going to answer this real quick. I don't know how Ms. Pitts got hold of the copy of the revised ordinance yet, because I haven't seen it yet, so I can't answer that question.
She doesn't have it.
She said that when she was up here. She said she read the revised ordinance. I haven't seen it yet, and I'm waiting to see. There are certain things we asked for that the public asked for that. That's all I know about.
It hasn't been done yet.
Well, who's?
Okay,
It hasn't
I'm
been
just
submitted.
provided.
So you're going to have a meeting in a week from now, and you don't even know
I got it.
what changes are going to be proposed?
Usually we get that stuff like the Friday before Monday. the Monday
Okay,
meeting.
the other thing is, why isn't it on the township's website? I mean, you take the trouble to put a little ad that I didn't even know about till tonight. I didn't see it. It's in the Star and Wave. I haven't looked at the Star and Wave yet. But why isn't this special meeting listed on the township's website?
I have no idea. I mean, I can
I
put
mean,
it
you
on
were in
the
a big
warning,
rush.
I-
So,
I-
who made the initial request to have a special meeting?
right? Council member
Hey,
requested. the
which
special-
one?
You want to, I have no problem with it, Councilman Perry.
I did.
Okay, why the big rush? I
It's
mean,
not a secret.
most people left here with the impression at the meeting
Right,
2
and,
weeks
and,
ago
and
that-
after the meeting, for 3 days, I got nothing but text messages, phone calls, and emails from my constituents in Ward 2 that have issues. They go to that beach every weekend, all summer long, sometime during the week, with their children, and they were quite upset at me for not moving forward with the
Were these-
ordinance at
were
the
these
last
pe-
meeting.
Were these people at the meeting that night?
Some of them were, and some of them were not.
And probably, some of them people probably weren't even aware of the beach ordinance because it wasn't publicized that much to begin with.
Okay.
The other thing that's been, this is about the township beaches, owned beaches. It's not about all the beaches. In this picture, okay, you see the pink? That's township.
Right.
There's some, a little bit there. This is not all the beaches. The township doesn't own that much, but this is rules for, that's down North Cape May towards the end. But this is to protect that, and that's it. Most of the beaches in Lower Township are not owned by the township. I think there are 14 beaches total, and I don't even know how many square miles that, how
I
many
mean, even a
miles.
lot of the people that you had commenting at the last meeting, for or against, that's probably only a small portion of the people that are really interested in this because there just wasn't enough time to get the word out to people that this thing was being proposed. I mean, I go to most of the meetings, I look at the tapes, and the first thing I heard about any kind of beach ordinance is when it was on the agenda. Was it discussed at any meetings that we're going to work on the beach ordinance or anything like that?
Maybe the first reading, then.
No, I mean, prior to it being on the agenda from a month ago or whatever, was there any discussion at any of the meetings that, hey, we're going to rework the beach ordinance?
I'm not aware.
It's like every.
I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
Well, the
Every
first
ordinance
cut,
the
if I,
township passes.
Bill, if I can answer that too. I was first given a draft of this back in February.
Okay.
It wasn't in March, it was in February.
So you guys
To
were
read
aware of it,
over.
but I mean,
So every member of council had it since February.
right, but
So
were
we
any
knew,
members of the public aware of this?
we knew about it and we were reading through it and I was myself making notes and corrections and things that I thought that needed to be addressed. Also, talked to my constituents, went to the Property Owners Association in Cape May Beach and talked to those people down there because they're also my constituents and they were quite concerned. It's the same beach area in North Cape May that's probably got the most problems that people deal with all summer long. And
Right. So
as you
Councilman,
noticed at the last meeting, even members of the POA were here. They had made signs up because they want to enforce the rules on their beach, regardless if the township does or not, just for safety purposes.
so council members were aware of it. You talked to some of your constituents and the Property Owners Association, but it was never discussed at a council meeting.
No, and your point's well taken. It probably should be on a work session before it's listed
Now,
for first reading.
I mean, what I
And,
would.
and not only that, but, I mean, when somebody on council, and we've had this discussion, and I think you see tonight, if you look at the agenda and you see Jim's name next to one item and Tom's name next to something. I mean, council gets a draft of an ordinance change, and unless a specific councilman asks for it, if it comes, say, in-house, then it should have, say, Bill Gailstock, Planning Department, on the agenda, so you know where it comes from, who's fronting this. But that being said, we did have the first
I
reading.
mean,
and-
what I would suggest is have a special meeting, but have it on a Saturday like you did with the bike path in North Cape May that was.
Well, the die is cast
And all
now.
those
This
changes.
has been advertised.
Because, I mean, as you saw from the turnout 2 weeks ago, a lot of people have opinions on this.
All right, well,
And it just seems like you're trying to slip this in under the radar, just like you don't want to say what the changes are. I mean, I'm sure somebody knows. You're not even going to tell us at this meeting what changes are proposed in the ordinance.
Well, most of them are like.
What it was 2 weeks ago. So it's
Most of them are
just
for-
another example of
Okay.
trying to cloud it,
May I?
slipping in under the radar.
go.
The original ordinance is on the website,
Right.
as listed from the last agenda, when they first
Right.
brought it up. My agenda packets, everything the council gets, the public gets. And that ordinance is on there.
It's,
At the hearing.
Right.
They amended, you were here at the hearing, the request was two amendments. One was no motor
All the sailboats,
Motor-
catamarans.
No motor, and it was fire as well.
and fire, no open fire.
And fire is actually a state.
Right. The ordinance that is out there, that's public. It was out there from 4 days before the last meeting, and it's still on the website. That doesn't come off. This new agenda for the following meeting will go on Friday. Open public records. We have to put all our information on our website the Friday prior to a Monday meeting. So everything the council has, the public is privy to.
Well, my question is, what changes were proposed to it from, between the changes that were proposed at the last meeting?
and now,
the
none that I'm aware of.
And the special
And
meeting?
I don't think you can make changes like that, and being honest about it.
No.
Nobody on council has the power
I
to
was
ma-
just told-
arbitrarily
I
make
was just
changes.
told we don't know what the changes are.
Well, we don't know
5
what,
minutes ago.
we haven't received the new ordinance with the original corrected changes, I think is a more correct version of what we're trying to say.
I still think you should have like a special meeting without
That-
voting on a second reading, like on a Saturday, like you did with the bike path with the,
Well,
for North Cape May, where you had, like the councilman was saying, where you had people lining up out the door to voice their opinion, because you're having a special meeting, nobody knows about it.
thank you,
You know, it's just like when you initially tried to pass the ordinance. So.
thank you. People that haven't spoken yet, Ed? Yeah, I see people back here. You need a hand?
Yeah, all right, I made it. Listen, I've been listening to this conversation. Oh, Ed Butler from the Villas, want to make sure. And Julie, you're right, because in the Soaring Waves, it even said that a copy of the new ordinance would be available for anybody to want to pick one up,
You came in and picked
which
it up
I
yesterday.
did. I did on yesterday. Yeah, no, today. Yes, today.
Okay, today's
Today I
Monday.
picked up. And Friday, when I was in the office, stopped in for the agenda, it was available then. I don't understand what you're saying, it's not the revised copy, because it was advertised as such. I received it and picked it up, and it's there, and you could have had it Friday. So I don't understand what
No,
you're talking about.
I think
with
he's
this.
talking about the new revised beach ordinance, which I don't think,
Yeah.
did we get that one? Is it done?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, before I put it in the newspaper, it has to be made available. You guys get it with your packet.
Okay.
Yeah,
And it-
but it's
you're-
available.
And we'll
free.
get our package shortly, and
Yeah, I got it in
we
my
haven't got it yet.
package.
Okay.
I'm okay. All right, so I'm just bringing this issue up because it's there, and it should have been read by lawyers by that time, because, like she said, it was put in there with the revised, but who revised it?
Well,
We
the
did a
solicitor.
public meeting.
We make the recommendations for revisions, then the solicitor redoes it
All right,
and puts it
so-
back out for second
So
reading.
you had a work session.
No, we didn't have a work
No.
session. We had
Well,
the
what?
first reading at the last meeting
We had a
when you were
second
here.
reading, which we
Or
revised.
second reading, and then we tabled it.
Mayor, if I may?
You tabled it. You tabled, but it's been changed.
At the first reading, there was substantial public comment, very
Right, I
healthy
got
public
that.
comment. There was two suggestions made at that time. One was to the definition of watercraft, which we've revised to deal specifically with engine-powered watercraft.
Okay,
The other one was in reference to fire. It was open flames. That's a state regulation. Neither one was a substantial deviation from the original ordinance, so it was able to come back on for a second reading, where there will be another public hearing and public comment at that time. Doesn't mean council has to pass it at that time, but it'll be open to the public to comment on and for council to consider those public comments.
Well, that's the same, what was handed to me today was the same that was had on the first meeting. There's been nothing changed in there.
With the exception of the fire definition and also the definition of watercraft.
So who changed it?
We changed that.
We
Who's
did
we?
the council did it the
Last
last public
meeting.
meeting.
There was
We
a
asked for those
motion.
revisions.
You did that at close?
No, at open session right here.
All right, so that was put in there. It still could be changed at the next meeting,
It can be.
Certainly.
right? All right. Now, with this whole thing, I see a problem here because the work sessions, there is no work sessions with this council in between. This should have been brought to the council from the rec board as an advisory committee and discussed prior to it. That was all going over tonight again. And I agree with that. That's the way it should be handled. They don't make decisions. You guys make the decisions because you are elected or appointed. And that's where it should come from, in my opinion. And with that, I also like to go back to another subject that Deputy Mayor brought up, was with the FEMA situation. I'm glad to see that there's some activity here because it'll affect a lot of people in this township, as you stated. But if we got two storms, one behind the other, and I've said this before, it's not only the people up there, it's this whole township's in trouble. So we got to use the horseshoe crabs and the red knots and whatever else you can use because the people actually come in third in any of these things. Environmentally, they'll take care of it. As far as the people, the taxpayers and all, they're only taking care of paying for everything, but I'm glad we're involved with it a little deeper. I thank you for that.
Thank you. Joe? And then Betty.
Yeah, Joe Link, 1001 Glenwood Place, Town Bank. Just as far as the Bayfront is concerned, there was an article, and then I'll get into really what I'm here for. There was an article written in 2000. It's on CapeMayBeach.com. I think the township should have never purchased that property with Frank Stewart funds. I think it's a quagmire. It's constantly costing the taxpayers money for the road department, for the recreation department, the police department. I don't know how we're going to get out of the quagmire. I see people constantly fighting each other over their interests. It's a bad, bad thing. Anyway, I'm here to say thank you. Last week, the road department completed our road, no, not our road, but the township's road. My wife said, this is great. We finally have a street that's paved that everyone else has in the township. With that said, I would like to say thank you to Mr. Gary Douglas from the road department thank you to his crew that worked on the road. They were very professional, meticulous, and I don't think the word should get out, but they do a better job than some of the contract people. But I don't think he wants me to say that or anyone else. The other thing is, it's important, I and my wife spent 3 years of hell, and government does matter. It does matter. Back in January, and I want to thank you, Councilman Simonson, you put a motion on the floor. Another motion was put on by Councilman Conrad, and that motion changed government here. And with Mr. Councilman Perry's vote, we got a new manager in this town. We have a new majority in this town. And I think Councilman Conrad mentioned that government does work slow. I can attest to that, 25 years in government service. But I will say that because we have a new manager, I no longer write letters, certified letters, to the majority and to the manager at that time, get no response. I don't get snide remarks from certain people on council from the previous majority stating that, you know, we thank you for paying your taxes, but guess what? The other thing is, I don't appreciate that. So government does matter. Open government matters. You can speak all you want about what government should be, but actions speak louder than words. So with that said, thank you, manager. You went out. I talked to you about this when you took the position. You came out. You had the road department supervisor. You investigated my claim, and you thought only 2 streets in the whole area, the R3 area, that you have a legitimate complaint, and I'm going to say it, thank you again from me and my wife. 'Cause I'm going to go home and have an adult beverage, and this chapter is closed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Patty?
My name's Betty Summers. I live on West Atlantic Avenue, right across from the bay. I want to know, does this ordinance do the whole bay?
No.
How about where I live?
Well, it could have an impact. I have to look at exactly where
Betty,
you're
what
at.
street you live on?
Atlantic.
What number on Atlantic? She's
248. I'm right across from the bay.
Yes,
house.
no, it covers part of it. It covers from Atlantic south to Bates, but it does not cover
Does it cover the street end?
Atlantic to Delaware.
Well, the only
Cover the
reason I'm
street
asking,
end?
I have dogs, but I don't walk
yes.
on the beach.
See, the problem you have is that, the township property is the street ends.
Well,
So
I don't.
theoretically, if you pass an ordinance restricting animal movement across the township property, I'm not sure how that's going to impact, because you may have to travel 20 feet to get off of township property
Well, there's
to get
certain
onto the
things it
other
doesn't
beach.
cover.
I don't go on the beach, Mike.
Okay,
But all my neighbors walk their dogs every day.
I got you.
They're very responsible people. They walk up and down all
Well-
different hours of the day. There are people that are responsible. I think this ordinance is very unfair to people that take care of their animals, because the ones that don't, whether you have 50 ordinances, they're still going to not clean up. You're not allowed to take drugs. Does that stop them? You're not allowed to break into cars. Does that stop them? And it's going to be the same way with the dogs. It's unfair to the people that like to take their dogs down to the beach. And like I say, I don't take mine. We got 15 dogs in our family, through across it. So I am a dog lover. And I think the people should be able to walk whenever they want to. That's one thing. The next thing is the police station. You remember, Tom, you and me had a talk. I said my dream would be, number one, to see a paid fire department, because we're getting so big. Not anything against the volunteer firemen, because ride past there and see how them men keep that. It's a pleasure to go by there. Our cops, they look like they come out of a magazine. Go back a Wawa and see what the rescue squad looks like. The nice homes back there. That lot's never cleaned out. There's trucks. It looks like a car parking thing. When I said the police, the rescue squad, a real rescue squad, next to the firehouse, then the police station, and I ride past there. There's 2 lots down there. There's a house. It could take everybody on Bayshore Road. You, Tom, better remember you're from the Villas. These other 2 guys don't care about the Villas. It's a known fact. And you better switch sides, because we need the police station. We got the problems, and we need them here where they belong.
They are here. I actually put more police on the street for that purpose.
You can have 50 police.
Buildings don't
It
say.
starts at home. The police can't do it, they don't do it at home. The police cannot stop it without the family helping. And the people, a lot of them down here, let the kids do anything they want to do. So it's not the police, it's the family that should start at home. Like the mayor said, don't let it get in your door. Get on it, get on top of it. Same thing with these girls now, with the pictures in the high school. You ought to pay more attention to the kids and don't worry about our police station.
Thank you.
Thank you. One other thing. I think we ought to stop the heckling in this hall, because it is disturbing the people in the back, and nobody wants to get up and say who's doing it, but we all know who's doing it.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about that, and the officer in the back needs to help us out sometimes here. Yes, Mr.
Obviously, all of you and the people who are here seem to have an idea of where to get information, how to find out what's published when. I have a suggestion. We have a lot of seniors who do not have computers. Is there any way, Deb, to get a letter together that explains where they can get information, when it's available, even if it's on a website and somebody has to tell them or help them get it? But, I don't think most people in Lower have a clue to find out what's going to be discussed, when it's going to be discussed, by whom, or how laws are passed. So I think as leaders, your job is to communicate to the public what they need to know and how they can get to what they need to know. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Alan? Please be brief.
Helen Thompson Villas. I just wanted to say, Mr. Conrad, that map that you're holding up in the air that nobody can see to show everybody what beach that ordinance covered, I think that's absurd.
Thank you.
Okay.
This means we
Everybody-
have- Okay,
Huh?
I bring this up. This means I asked for this map for council to see exactly what areas we own, 'cause last meeting, we were trying to figure out exactly what areas the township owns. The township does not own the whole beachfront. Now, I brought this up to say, okay, yes, you can't read this. I understand that. But then again, there's certain other things we're trying to get you to understand that I don't.
No one can see that. The
I
public
know, but
can't
when I'm
see
saying,
that.
okay, does this mean I have something that says where we own the beach? Yes or no?
Does it say what?
Yes. What I'm trying to say is this means council has a way to know where we own so we can we researched it because we brought this up at the public portion. At the last meeting, what beaches does the township actually own where this ordinance would cover? I brought this up. Yes, I know the people in the audience can't read it. If the mayor was holding it, I couldn't read it. I'll be the first to admit that. But it's showing that council is looking into this, because last week last meeting, we couldn't answer that question. We all received this, so we could get that information so we would know. We're here to make informed decisions. This is information. If you had a question, say, well, how about this street? Is this covered? I can say yes or no, where 2 weeks ago I could not. I'm not expecting the people in the audience to read everything in my hand. I'm sorry. But I'm trying to show you we do have the information.
But we don't. The public doesn't. Anyway.
Okay. Did you ask?
I
No.
didn't even know it was available. I didn't know about a special meeting. It's not on the site. I mean, I go on the site constantly. For one. For number two, about getting off the couch, there was a statement made about people not getting off the couch and coming out to meetings. This economy is still not back to 100%, and there's people. This is not a rich township. This is actually a moderate to poor township, in my opinion. And there's a lot of people in this township that work 2 jobs. Okay, they're busy. They have kids. They're trying to keep their head above water. Okay, I doubt if they have time like I do or whatever to have their nose in the township site constantly. To have a special meeting on something this important is outrageous. Everybody else presents things. They have maps up. They have PowerPoints. This you slip through at 4 o'clock meeting. I mean, seriously, you guys, Mr. Parry, really, your constituents are not the only people in this township. There's plenty of others.
You're right, but I do directly represent them, and they asked me to do what I did as far as getting a special meeting together to, if the ordinance does pass, we don't even know if it'll pass or not, but if it does have the 3 votes to pass, that there'll be plenty of time, or at least a couple of weeks, to inform people prior to the 4th of July weekend coming up on what we can do down there and what we can't. We can't go another summer the way it's been going on in the North Cape May area on that beach. Somebody's going to be injured, and the township's going to be responsible.
There's already a leash law, there's already a defecation law, there's already a pick up after your dog law, there's already a fire law, it's a township ordinance, leash law is township ordinance, fire law is township ordinance, and picking up is already a township ordinance, so I don't see what this ordinance will do with dogs pertaining to people getting injured, except for limiting them and the amount of hours they can be there. It does nothing else to limit dogs that isn't already an ordinance, except for limit the amount of hours they can be on the beach. This whole ordinance, as far as dogs being added, was only to make sure that dogs aren't on the beach between 11 and 4. The rest was added and talked about just, I don't know, as a sort of like a deflection, okay, because there's already laws for all those.
Okay, we have other people that want to get up. So.
Anyway, shoot, I was going to say something. I forget. All right,
Okay.
thanks.
This lady here.
Mary Reeder from Villas, and by the way, it is Villas. When I called it the Villas, I was corrected. And so it used to be, but anyway, that's not important. What I think is important is that I came in here and the meeting began with pleasure for me. People were civil. People had disagreements at times, but they were clear, and every one of you 5 was a pleasure to hear. And let alone the man in charge of the triathlon, he goes up there with Pete Seeger for me. He's another hero. And the deterioration of civility, darn it. I was hoping we could hit 100% tonight, maybe next time, for civility.
Thank you. Please be brief.
Any possibility of getting your chart thing there as a billboard for the special meeting so that people know what our township beaches, what aren't?
I don't know about a billboard. Maybe we can put it.
Yeah, like
put it-
the easel things they put up.
Well, we could put it on the township site.
We'll get something
If I don't,
bigger
if
that you can read.
we'll blow it up, we'll do something. I
The
guess.
other thing is, now, if this ordinance is passed at the special meeting, when does it become effective?
20 days after.
20 days.
So then the escape to the Cape won't be impacted by, if you pass this ordinance?
The Escape
thousands.
Cape would be impacted by this anyway. There's nothing,
No.
Well, I mean, if you have people escape the Cape, I'm sure you're going to have people having a beer down on the beach or
It's
something.
the weekend of the 13th, 14th.
Right.
20 days would be June 28th. It would be
Okay,
2
so
weeks.
Wouldn't affect the escape to
No.
the Cape. Okay. Then, just last of all, I think having this special meeting is just an attempt to stifle public opinion, slipping it in there like that, under the radar. I mean, you could put out a press release, and nobody reads the fine print and the classified.
I hear you.
I wasn't aware of it, and I've been on this issue since I first seen it on the agenda, so, okay, thank you.
A motion to adjourn? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.